series, with this one a little bit more surprising. The New Orleans Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns. New Orleans visiting Phoenix, getting 6.5 points. The total right at 214.5. And this is a series, Phoenix comes out, wins the first two games pretty comfortably. And maybe it is just the Devin Booker injury. That seems honestly maybe a little too simple for a team in the Suns that have overcome injuries to each of their stars all season, whether it was Ayton being out, whether it was Paul or Booker being out. They sustain these problems. And I know the postseason's a little bit better, but I mean, Josh, is the inside game of the Pelicans really starting to be too much? Can Phoenix find a way to turn things around here at home?
Yeah, look, I'm still bullish on Phoenix. I still think they figure things out, like you said, and I still think that they have the talent really to make the right adjustments necessary, especially on the inside there. It's if you can really limit the offensive rebounds, those second chance opportunities for the Pelicans, and then also do a better job in defending in transition and forcing them into half court sets. That's when the offense goes really stale, and that's where we've seen the Pelicans have those sort of 4 or 5 minute periods where they, zero field goals and maybe a couple of free throws go their way. So that's got to be the point of emphasis, I think, for Monty Williams. And like I said, I think there's still enough talent on that roster to be able to make those adjustments. Devin Booker going out obviously swayed things understandably when you take someone, I guess, of that value offensively. But it's been a little bit surprising to see Phoenix struggle so much defensively in his absence as well. But that's something I think they rectify tonight, and you'll get Chris Paul probably controlling tempo for the majority of this game, really slowing things down to a walking pace. I think if you play this game entirely in half-court sets, then Phoenix, for me, is still head and shoulders the better team at executing at both ends of the floor. So that's kind of what I anticipate to be the case. I think they're the adjustments Monty Williams looks to make, and in which case this total 215, which is, again, where it's pretty much been all series, it actually becomes a pretty high number. And you look at the shot quality results from previous games, I mean, the Pelicans have struggled to hit 100 points, or projected to hit 100 points in 3 of the 4 games so far. So the last game sort of being a little bit of an outlier in that regard. We saw it in the first half, and then obviously they had that big third quarter, which completely changed the game script entirely for both teams. I think we get a similar first half here, but it carries over into the second half as well. So that full game total for me, a few points too high. I kind of think it should be closer to 211 as fair price, and I can see sort of a 108, 103 final score here in favor of the Suns. So I'm going with the under here. I think that's probably the best bit of value for this game.
Yeah, we've seen the pace of all these games in kind of the low 90s. Game two, a little closer to the mid 90s. But what are you thinking in this game tonight here, Jeff? And what do you see the rest of the series? How do you see that shaking out?
Yeah, I think he's. I think Josh a little too nice to the Pelicans here. I don't know if they get to 100. I just don't think this offense is very good. And I know we can pretend that Jose Alvarado is going to go off every game and Herb Jones and guys like that, but it's just not going to happen. I mean, you also look at in Game 4. It was a lot like it was for Minnesota in Game 4 for the Pelicans. I mean, Jay Crowder didn't even play 30 minutes. Chris Paul had 4 points. Just a lot of this stuff's not going to happen again. Throw in the fact that it's in Phoenix. And, just a lot of those things are going to go the right way. I kind of had this one at like 112.98, something like that. I think the Suns bounce back in a big way here. I think this game's probably a lot like, what we saw in maybe Game 1 or even in Game 3. I'll tell you what, if you had the under the other night, that was a brutal beat. I think there was like 6 points over the last 5 seconds, and it put it over the number. It was rough. Either way, I think the Suns kind of bounce back and win by double digits, kind of like the game before. I'm going to just trust that Crowder plays more. Obviously, you're not going to have some of the random things that went on the other night. And we have to talk about Crowder. I mean, I've said before he's one of the better defenders in the league. He's got season for the Suns. He needs to be on the court more. He's obviously big on the perimeter with Mikal Bridges defensively. One thing that I do know, folks, in this series, the New Orleans Pelicans cannot guard DeAndre Ayton. It's been pretty obvious. And that was something last season that DeAndre Ayton was able to exploit. There were certain teams that just couldn't defend him either. You look at in 3 of the 4 games, he scored 20 or more points. Over the last 2, he's taken 34 shot attempts. Now that Booker's out of this series for the most part, Ayton has been the catalyst on offense. I'll gladly take the ability on the offensive glass as well. I think the play in this game is just targeting Ayton, a guy that I think if they're going to win by double digits or even cover, Ayton's going to have a big game. I'm going to hope for like a 25-point effort from the big man here. You even look at in Game 3, guys, real quick. I don't think DeAndre Ayton scored in the fourth quarter and still had 28 points in the game. So he's been a big factor the last couple, over 20 and a half for Ayton I'm playing.
I like that look quite a bit. We know you're a prop guy, Josh. Are you on board with that as well?
I love any Ayton-related props tonight. I think absolutely that's the best angle to approach. If you're playing DFS, I think you absolutely have to have him in every single lineup. He's got to be a staple there. Like Jeff said, when it comes to the offensive contributions you get from him right now with Devin Booker out, I think they've realized that the Pelicans, Valanciunas isn't someone that can necessarily stick with some of those more agile centers. And when they go with Larry Nance, he doesn't quite have the size or strength to stay with him in the post as well. So, yeah, there's always going to be matchup advantages for Aiden to take advantage of. I think that they make a point of emphasis again to really run some plays through him for the majority of this game, especially in those half-court sets. Like I said, when things slow down, when Chris Paul's able to get in pick-and-roll situations with him and feed him into the spots he wants.
I think we could also say real quick, and Josh mentioned the T-Wolves have been pretty lucky. I mean, I think we can make the case that the Pelicans have been pretty damn lucky in this series as well. I mean, no Devin Booker. The last two games, the Phoenix Suns have shot 11 for 53 from three. I mean, that's not going to happen long term. I think they should count their lucky stars that they're even in this series, and it's tied. These Western Conference playoffs, I'm really just waiting for the teams that we know are much better than the other teams to figure it out. And I think all three teams figure it out tonight, one of which closes it out. But, yeah, Phoenix, I think, is just kind of unlucky that Booker's been injured and they haven't shot the ball well.
Yeah, makes sense. And let's take a quick look at our official picks here. Josh on the under at 214.5. Mr. Nadu, Jeff's got DeAndre Ayton over 20.5 points, and that leads us...